Hi guys! In this video I wanted to share a little bit about my experience dealing with hypergamy out here in the UK, which has a very heavy feminist influence. Now, for those of you who don't know, in a nutshell, hypergamy is a breeding selection technique that women use, mostly subconsciously, and it's based on thousands of years of intergender dynamics and pair bonding, which sums up in the sense that the woman is going to be pregnant for 9 months of her life, where she's going to be less productive, and she's seeking, that she has to ultimately be responsible for the raising of the child to maturity. So as a result, it's in her best interest to, one, find somebody of, good genetic stock to pass on to provide healthy offspring. Secondly, she needs protection, so she wants somebody who's strong in the event of any catastrophe, especially in the times of the Middle Ages with the onslaught of raiders and other things. She wants somebody who's able to protect her and the child. And lastly, somebody who is financially viable that can provide for her and the offspring until the child reaches maturity. Now, again, this is not something that women are necessarily conscious of, but in the gender dynamics, women tend to marry up. That's kind of how it's reflected in society. So, lawyers tend to try to marry up to judges and doctors. Teachers tend to marry up to managers, and they tend to have that kind of hierarchical upward mobility that's taking place. Men, on the other hand, really don't care. Men will pair bond with anybody. We are not as selective. As I say, just genetically speaking, we produce unlimited sperm and so forth. We're not hindered by the advents of pregnancy. And so as a result, we just have not evolved with this same type of hypergamous nature. In fact, men don't necessarily have a problem marrying down in a sense. So it's not uncommon to see very successful men marrying up with these hairdressers and yoga instructors and other things like that. Men are not necessarily viewing this whole thing the same way. Now, for the most part, hypergamy has worked. All of us are here as the product of hypergamy. And for the most part, even the lowest stratas of women that might be very obese, maybe mental disorders, or even illnesses and so forth, many of them could actually go on and find men to pair bond with and produce offspring and for the next generation. But unfortunately, in recent times, with the advent of feminism as well as the advent of social media, women, for the most part, have gotten this ridiculously inflated idea of their value within the sexual marketplace, to the point now, because of political and social empowerment to women, they now think that they're superior to most men in most regards. And it has resulted in a fact, in twofold. One, more and more women are now competing for higher quality men. And at the same time, the very peak of women, the women who think they're at the absolute peak of their female potential, now see themselves as superior to men and have completely priced themselves out of the sexual marketplace entirely. It will take a little less than a Norse god to show up to ever meet the standards of these said women. So as a result of that, more and more women are now in more and more competition for fewer and fewer men. So again, taking to my example, you might have a very successful female lawyer. She's not looking to marry down. She's not looking to marry the garbage man or the teacher. More than likely, she's going to try and find a superior lawyer in the field, or possibly a judge, a politician, a senator, or any of these kinds of things. And because of that, her choices are greatly reduced. And you couple that with the fact that now all of these other women who might have been much lower down in the strata now think they're entitled to better and better men. These women are equally competing for those said same men. And as a result, there's an absolute bloodbath taking place. And the truth is, there are just not enough men that are going to go around to a lot of these women. This is just, frankly, the reality. Now, I'm not saying that all of these women are going to end up single. It's just statistically, it's quite possible this is what's going to end up happening. Now, I say all of that to get back to my experience more recently. Since I've come out here, I've been on a number of online dating sites. I've been meeting women in person in bars, as well as, a couple communities that I've joined on social media for singles in the London area and things like that. And I am just absolutely flabbergasted by what feminism has, put into the minds of these women, to the point where they have absolutely no clue what it is that's really going on in terms of the sexual marketplace and their place within it. To the point where I actually had a conversation with a woman who, she was a single mom in her mid-30s, She didn't particularly have a profession. She was on government assistance. And, she was just completely unaware. And she, I tried to explain to her the whole thing about the sexual marketplace value. And she said, besides that I was a chauvinist, a pig, and a dog, that, a man should appreciate her for her wisdom. And I almost, choked out of shock of this statement, that this woman was so entitled and so wrapped up into herself to see herself as aging like fine wine, that she assumed that she must now enforce this new beauty standard of wisdom upon a generation of men that really, generally, for the most part, do not care about such things as wisdom. And again, this is what we see taking place. Because feminism has basically created this bloodbath amongst women fighting for the smallest eligibility of men, they're trying to now blame men for not appreciating other aspects of their personality. So you see things like the body positivity movement, where fat is beautiful and real women have tiger stripes, or a fancy word for stretch marks. Basically trying to get men to turn away from their natural instinct to go towards youth, beauty, and fertility, to try and, pull some of those men to some of these older women that are now passing their prime within the sexual marketplace. We also see a lot of shaming tactics from women, where these older men are ending up with younger women, and there tends to be scorn from, the feminist camp. Again, trying to get men to date women their own age, simply, again, not understanding that, again, men are interested in youth, beauty, and fertility, and these shaming tactics are really not going to work. Similarly, you see people trying to destroy the idea of femininity within feminism. So we get a lot of the blue-haired, fully tattooed, piercings and pincushion-looking women that have really given up a lot of the things that men naturally find attractive. Feminine curves, long hair, things that have generally attracted men for centuries. But I suppose that's some kind of tactic that if they can destroy that image, men are forced, because of a lack of options, to now explore other things like, maybe women's personality or their wisdom or whatever the case might be. So more and more we're seeing these tactics take place to basically try to fix a problem that feminism itself actually created, by giving women these ideas about themselves where they're actually become a lot more entitled than they are. And it's reflected in a lot of everyday conversations where I hear women saying, well, suddenly I'm ready to settle down. As if a man is just an accessory, right? Everything's on hold until she decides, she wants to now settle down. And the truth of the matter is that, men don't know if they want to settle down with you, right? They have to get to know you first. And if it is, they find that you're self-absorbed and kind of caught up in your own world, and you're not really complimenting his life in any kind of capacity, and you see him as some kind of accessory, he's probably not going to be interested in marrying you. And more of these kind of conversations are becoming relevant. Especially women in their 30s, the first thing they always say is that I'm looking for a serious relationship. And the reason they're doing that is they know that their value within the sexual marketplace is declining. They're being confronted with fewer and fewer options. And they're looking to basically get hitched. But men, on the most part, are not under any kind of compulsion. They're not in any kind of rush. And the truth is, how do we know if you're marriage material? You might not be. You may be somebody that we could just have fun with. You might be somebody, that might end up as a good friend. There's no way to know up front that you're actually marriage material. And more women are starting to face this reality that, they really can't have it all. You can have the career, you can have, the wealth, power, and all these other things, but it is going to come with a trade-off. And as much as, people might want to think that's unfair, or they might think that, they're entitled to some kind of benefit, for the most part, men have not evolved past the very basics of this biology, in the sense that they're still attracted to youth, beauty, and fertility. And seeing as these women think that, men should appreciate them for things outside of that realm, that's very entitled, and they're trying to impose their expectations of beauty and attraction and force it upon the male community. And for the most part, the men are not having it. Now, some men do, of course. There are always going to be our good beta men out there that are going to adopt a lot of these philosophies just to get laid, probably, or whatever the case might be. But for the most part, the men out there kind of getting wise to it, and a lot of them are not going to play this game. And I, for one, am not going to play it. I've had a number of conversations with these women, Very entitled, very, unreasonable expectations. Many of them just kind of see, the potential of the man as a luxury and not really something they want to commit to. They're having a lot of problems thinking outside themselves and not understanding that men are not necessarily attracted to the things they should, expected to be attracted to. It's quite a challenge. It's quite a challenge. Dealing with all of this ideology and, feminism and these unreasonable expectations has made dating out here quite challenging. And I've met a number of great women. I'm exploring the opportunities with a few of them. But yeah, for the most part, it has been unreal. Simply because back home in Trinidad and Tobago in the Caribbean, for the most part, we don't have this type of radical feminism. It's a lot more evenly distributed. Hypergamy works more in a natural way. But coming out here, it's really been a culture shock. So guys, that's my video. Share with me if you've had some experiences out here dealing with hypergamy. Give me some of your horror stories, maybe some tips on how to handle it. I'd love to have that discussion. As always, guys, please feel free to connect with me on social media. I've got all the links below. And as usual, thanks again for watching, guys. Take care.